In a small town, a young artist named Leo wrestled with the frustrations of creative stagnation. His once vivid imagination had dimmed and inspiration felt like a distant memory. His canvases, which used to burst with colors and emotions, now sat half-finished, mocking his creative block. The weight of his unexpressed art grew heavier, filling him with self-doubt and a deepening sense of inadequacy. One day, Leo attended a friend's party. It was a lively affair filled with local musicians, fellow artists, and dreamers. The air was thick with the smell of incense and chatter, and laughter echoed beneath the dim glow of string lights. As the night progressed, Leo found himself seated in a corner with a small group discussing ways to expand their artistic minds. One of them, a sculptor known for his eccentric work, brought up LSD, a powerful hallucinogen. Then he was introduced to LSD, a powerful hallucinogen made from lysergic acid. This drug, often referred to as acid, is one of the strongest mind-altering chemicals known. LSD typically appears as a clear or white material, and users commonly absorb it through small squares of blotting paper soaked in the substance. These tabs are placed under the tongue, but LSD can also come in the form of tablets or capsules. Despite his reservations, Leo's desire for artistic expression drove him to try it. Upon taking LSD, the mucous membranes in his mouth began the process of absorbing the drug into his bloodstream. Within 30 to 60 minutes, he felt the effects kicking in. The effects of LSD can last for 9 to 12 hours, and during this time, Leo lost touch with reality. The drug rapidly decomposed and bonded with various neurotransmitters in his brain. About 86% of the ingested LSD took on psychoactive forms that interacted with multiple receptors, including serotonin, dopamine, adrenergic, histamine, and glutamine receptors. The main way LSD interacts with the body is through serotonin receptors, which play a vital role in numerous physiological and psychological processes: sleep, feeding, learning, memory, pain, social behavior, sexual activity, and motor control. Serotonin is primarily produced in the gut, with 90% of it remaining there to regulate intestinal function and movement. LSD binds to several different serotonin receptors, primarily the 5-HT2A receptor. Unlike regular serotonin, which binds, creates a signal, and is then reabsorbed, the active form of LSD locks into the receptor, which can take hours to a day for the cell to decompose. This prolonged binding amplifies some of the natural effects of serotonin production. Under the influence of LSD, Leo's senses became extraordinarily acute. Colors around him bloomed in vibrant hues, and sounds transformed into melodic waves. He experienced altered perception, seeing enhanced colors and distorted shapes, often blending senses in a phenomenon known as synesthesia, where he could smell sounds and hear colors. His creativity surged, and he found himself painting with an intensity he had never experienced before. The townspeople were captivated by his bold and unique works, flocking to see his art. However, as time went on, Leo discovered that he was becoming increasingly dependent on the drug. While his artistic career soared, his mental health began to deteriorate. The effects of LSD, hallucinations, and an altered sense of reality made it difficult for him to distinguish between what was real and what was not. He experienced visual and auditory hallucinations, seeing things that weren't there and hearing distorted sounds. His emotions swung wildly, ranging from intense euphoria to crippling anxiety and paranoia. Physical symptoms also emerged. He often felt an increase in body temperature, extreme sweating, and flushing, while struggling with sleeplessness and a loss of appetite. His friends grew worried about the changes they saw in him. One night, while immersed in his chaotic creations, Leo was overcome with deep anxiety. He realized that although his creativity had flourished, it had come at the cost of losing himself. Just as he was about to take another dose of LSD, a former friend burst in. Recognizing Leo's distress, they calmly reassured him, emphasizing that the effects of the drug were temporary and would pass. They encouraged him to breathe deeply and focus on the present moment. After the effects wore off, Leo realized he needed more than just reassurance. He sought psychological support, attending counseling sessions to address the anxiety and trauma he had experienced during his trips. With the help of a therapist, he began to untangle the web of emotions and fears that LSD had amplified. Determined to reclaim his life, Leo chose to give up the drug altogether. A small part of LSD remained unchanged in his body, eventually getting flushed out by his kidneys, while the rest continued to affect him, bonding with serotonin and dopamine receptors. He began seeking inspiration from nature and real-life experiences instead. Although this path was challenging, he gradually rediscovered his artistic voice, creating deeper and more authentic works. The townspeople fell in love with his art once again, and Leo finally found his true self, liberated from the grip of LSD and the illusions it had created. With the support of his friends and therapy, he learned to embrace his creativity without the need for substances, reconnecting with both his art and himself.